So I moved to a new apartment and I have a new space and I set it up over the last couple weeks. I apologize for not posting a video for a while. Life has been overwhelming, to say the least, with both good things and bad things. And I simply have not had the time nor the focus to commit to making videos. But I did make some videos yesterday, and I wanted to share some things that I did for those videos. I recorded some pieces for my finals for the courses that I'm taking in Chicago, and I recorded a Chopin waltz as well as a Haydn sonata allegro movement. So I wanted to talk about the recording process. I recorded these on my Casio GP-510, which I showed in one of my previous videos and has been in several of my performance videos. And I just wanted to talk about the recording technique that I use and why I did that. The Casio GP-510 is a digital hybrid piano. That means that it uses a digital sampling engine for the sound production, as well as speakers powered by an amplifier to send that sound out into the room. The hybrid component of it, that means that it uses also a component of an acoustic piano. So the acoustic component is the keys and the hammers that are in the piano. The keys are made of spruce and they're connected to hammers that are grand piano length with the same weight of hammer at the end of the key. This creates a really great action and a really great playing experience. It's very fast action and it's very satisfying to play it. The speakers that are on this are set up in kind of an interesting way. There's 3 speakers on each side. So there's one that's underneath this cloth here. I think there's one that sort of sits under this board, and then there's one underneath, and it's the same on the other side. So this one here under the cloth fires upward. I believe this one that's under the board fires towards the player, and then this one that's underneath, it's kind of hard to see, but maybe you can see it on the other side. See, there's a box over here. Those 2 speakers fire down towards the floor, making use of the reflection from the floor to help give a wider stereo picture for the player. I think this instrument sounds really great. The speaker array gives a very, very nice playing experience when you're seated at the bench. One consideration with this, though, is getting it to sound nice on a recording. There are differing opinions about how to record a digital piano online. Some people say you just shouldn't do it. Others say that you should only use the USB drive. Others say that you should take the signal from the headphone jack, and others say to go with the line out. A lot of people say do not use microphones. I disagree. I think that given that this is a digital instrument that has the capability of a line out, yes, we should use that. But I also think that the digital sound production, while it sounds realistic, it does not sound like the room that the piano is being played in. I want to record the piano and give a realistic representation of what I'm hearing while I'm playing it. So what I usually do is I take the DI from underneath the piano and I record that into a DAW. You can see these 2 cables here. These are plugged into the line out. I keep calling it a DI, that I am just making that mistake, but these are line out cables and it's a stereo pair. I've got a right and a left channel. So those run to my Focusrite interface. And then I also record with a pair of microphones. This is a matched pair of Se8 small diaphragm condensers, and I have them set up in a configuration called ORTF. And what that does is it sets the diaphragms of these cardioid mics pointing away from each other, sort of like your ears would be positioned. They are set so that they are roughly 17 centimeters apart and at an angle of about 110 degrees. I didn't measure this stuff exactly. I measured the distance between the two diaphragms, but the angle, I'm hoping it's there. I know this is a little bit wider than 90. You can see that I've got the mounting bar kind of at an angle. And the reason I did that is so that I can get these at the appropriate distance and get the cables there on the microphones. I set these in the room, roughly 3 feet from the sound source. I used the Casio label here, or the lamp, as a guide, and I measured from there. I set them over the right shoulder of where I would be sitting, and that gives kind of more of the player perspective, which is what I want. I set them up at about 6 feet high. That is to kind of work with any issues that might arise with phasing. I don't have any of the high pass filters on. I don't have the pad on either of these microphones. I did a high pass filter in the DAW in Ableton. I just used a limiter to bring up the level overall. So it's pretty much flat other than that. I'm not sure if you can hear it through the lav mic here, but there's an AC running in the other room. When you're out there, it sounds like there's a semi-truck idling in the living room. I wanted to make sure that that didn't come through in the recording, so that's why I put the high pass filter. Let me give you some samples of this and we can see how it all sounds. So I'm gonna just play something really basic, everyone's favorite scale, the C major scale. And I want to show you just a couple of different options that are here, showing you the difference between the line out and then just the microphones and just this lavalier mic, and then the combined line out and the room mic. I think that the combination of the two is really great. It gives you some mixing options. It also allows you to kind of adjust any phasing issues that you might have. One more thing before I start, and you've probably heard this if you've watched a lot of videos about the GP-510, there are 3 piano tones, so I'm also going to show you those samples. I'm kind of interested to hear the other tones because I recorded with just one of them, and I've kind of been stuck on this one for a while because it's really good. So there's a Berlin Grand, which is a model of a Bechstein piano. Then there's a Hamburg Grand, which is a model of a Steinway piano, and then a Vienna Grand, which is a model of a Bösendorfer. Each of these sounds really great, but I'm really partial to the Hamburg Grand. That's what I used for my videos. But I'll give you samples of each one. I'm gonna start with that Hamburg Grand because I know what it sounds like, and I know how to handle it when I'm mixing it. And then one last thing, the volume on here is roughly at halfway. The lid is up as high as it goes, so that'll also affect the tone. I set the level there so that I could get a good signal with the mics as well as the line out. And I believe the gain on the mics and the piano on the Focusrite 18i20 is at about 12 o'clock on each one. That gives me a good signal, and then I'm able to get a bit of headroom for adding in that limiter later. So here it is, the C major scale using the Hamburg Grand, and the first thing we're gonna do, we're just gonna go with this lavalier mic. No, we're not. We're gonna go with the DI. Sorry, it's not a DI, it's a line out. We're gonna go with the line out. So that's line out. Let's go with the room mics. And then the lav mic. So that's the Hamburg Grand. And now this is the Hamburg Grand with the line out and the room mics mixed. Okay, so let's switch tones. So that's the Hamburg Grand, aka a Steinway model, and then the Berlin Grand, which is the Bechstein model. Bechstein also made the key action for this. This is a much brighter sound. I was really into this one for a while, but I keep going back to that Hamburg Grand. Yeah, so we're gonna start with the line out. And then next we're gonna go with the room mics. And then we're gonna go with the lavalier mic, the Rode Wireless Go. And then we're gonna go with the mix, line out and room mics. So that's the Berlin Grand. Now, the last one is the Vienna Grand, which is the Bösendorfer model. I wouldn't say it's between the two, it's or anywhere in between. It's kind of got its own thing going on. I also was really into this one for a while. I think I've been playing a little much of the like romantic rep that's got me stuck on the Hamburg Grand. This one I thought was really nice for Mozart. My Mozart video uses this one. So this is the Vienna Grand, going with the line out first. And then the room mics. And then the lavalier mic. And then the mix of the line out and the room mics. So those are the various tones on this and the multiple options for recording. You can also record to a USB drive on this instrument. I've never done that. I think I'm just not as interested in recording direct. I like the sound of this instrument in the room, so I try to record it in the room. The line out gives kind of a cleaner signal. You don't have the interference of stuff outside or stuff in the real world. You're just taking the sound directly from here. And that is advantageous, but especially combining it with video, it's important to represent the space as it is. I think it's more convincing if your video that is shot in a spare bedroom has that vibe. It's really weird watching videos where it's recorded in a spare bedroom, but it sounds like you're playing at the Royal Albert Hall or something, or Notre Dame Cathedral. And that's fun, but like for me, I just want something a little more realistic. With the microphones, you can use different setups. I imagine that there are options for this where you could put mics here on these speakers, one on each side. I think there's a video made by Casio where they do that for a live performance. I think you could also possibly put them in under the lid, or even mic the ones that are on the bottom. And that would probably get a great sound too. With the room mic that's set up here, you could do this with a single mic. You don't need two. I just use two because I have them and I like the stereo field. I also do a lot of mixing and stuff with headphones, so it's really pleasant to hear a wider stereo spread with headphones. If you use the stereo pair, you could also opt for XY. If you have a matched pair that does figure 8, like a pair of ribbons or a pair of condensers that switch to figure 8, you can definitely do Bloomline as well. So I hope that you found this helpful. I hope this helps with your recording. I hope this gives you some ideas about using this instrument for your own videos or for your own home recordings. I think it's a fantastic instrument, and I think the idea that digital pianos are not worth recording or not worth recording with microphones is just a little bit naive. And I think that you can get great results just thinking a little bit harder about it. So yeah, click that like button, click that subscribe button, and I will see you next time.